What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I want to talk to you about functions. Now a function is basically a collection of code that performs a specific task. So I can take a bunch of lines that are basically doing the same thing and put them inside of a function, and when I want to do that task, all I need to do is call that function. So functions really help you organize your code and break it into little pieces that are doing different things. Functions are a core concept when we're talking about programming in Python. So I'm going to show you how to create a function. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to create a function that says hi to the user. So without any further ado, let's get started. If I want to create a function, the first thing I need to do is write out a special keyword called def, which stands for define. So when Python sees this keyword, it's going to say, okay, this person wants to use a function. So after we type def, we need to give this function a name. Just like when we're creating variables, we need to give them descriptive names. I'm going to call this function say hi. After we type out the name of the function, we need to add an open and close parentheses. Then I have to type in a colon. And basically what this is doing is saying to Python that, alright, all the code that comes after this line is going to be inside of our function. In order to write code that's going to end up being inside of the function, we need to indent it. So over here, you'll notice that when I click enter, my text editor automatically indented the text. And that's one of the rules in Python, is that code that goes inside of a function needs to be indented. So if I was to write code somewhere out here like this is no longer considered to be inside the function. And when I have it print out some text, it's going to say hello user. So this is a very simple function. We have one line of code. Inside of that function, you could have as many lines of code as you want. If I want to execute this code inside of this function, I need to do something known as calling the function. So let's run the program as it is right now. I'm going to run it. As you can see, nothing happens over here, even though this function is printing out hello user when I run the program. The reason it's not printing out hello user is because the code inside of the function isn't going to get executed by default. The code inside of a function is only going to get executed when we specify that we want it to get executed. In order to do that, we need to do something known as calling the function. So in order to call the function, you just basically type out the function's name and these open and close parentheses. So I'm just going to type out say hi and then open and close parentheses. Now when I run this program, you will see that it prints out hello user. So now we're executing the code inside of that function. I want to explain to you how these functions actually work. So up here I'm going to print top, and then down here I'm going to print bottom. I want to show you guys the flow of these functions inside the program. So when I run this program, you'll see that we print top, hello user, and then bottom. So essentially what's happening is that when Python goes through and executes this program, it goes over here to the first line and says, okay, we want to print out the word top. Then it goes down here and says, okay, we want to execute the say hi function. So then Python jumps up and then it goes over the say hi function and it's going to execute all the code inside of this function. It's going to go through and execute all the code, and then once it's done, it's going to jump back down here and then it's going to move on to the next line, which is bottom. And that's kind of the flow of functions. Alright, now we can actually make these functions a bit more powerful. What we can do is we can give them information. A lot of times when we're writing functions, we're going to have additional information that gets passed in. So these are called parameters. So a parameter is a piece of information that we give to the function. So over here I can specify that this function needs to receive some parameters. So I can basically say, hey, if you're going to call this function, you need to give us some information. You need to give us some parameters. All I need to do is type out the name of the parameter that I want to receive. So why don't we allow the code calling this function to tell us what name to say hi to. Up here I just have to say name, and what this means that whenever I call this say hi function, we have to give it a name. Down here, if I was to call this, I have to include a name in here. I can say a name like John, and now what I have to do is I can actually access this parameter or this variable inside of our function. So I could come over here, instead of saying hello user, I can say hello name. And basically what this is going to do is going to say hello to whatever name gets passed in here. So I'm actually going to copy this, and we can do this twice. So when I say hello John and hello Mark, and now when I run the program, you'll find that instead of saying hello user, it's saying hello to whichever name I passed into the function. So that can be really useful. We can give this function information, and depending on the information we give it, it will perform tasks a bit differently. I can include more than one parameter, which means technically you can have as many parameters as you want. I can put another one in here where I can say age. Now I'm going to pass in an age along with these. I'm just going to pass in an age and pass in an age for down here, and I'm going to pass in two strings. So we can say hello name, you are, and I'm passing in two pieces of information. And when we run the program, it's going to call the function, it's going to use both of these pieces of information. Let's say hello John, you are 35, hello Mark, you are 70. Essentially, when we're writing out this line of code, we just print out hello to someone, allowing the function to receive two parameters, the name and the age. And depending on the name and the age, the function is going to print out hello a little differently. And that's kind of the beauty of using these functions. You can pass in anything that you want into a function. So for example, I can pass in an integer instead of a string for the age. So I can pass in a number. The only difference that over here we have to convert this into a string, but we're gonna work the same. So you can pass in strings, numbers, booleans, arrays. You can pass in any type of data into a function and it's going to work. So as you can see over here, we're getting the same results. So that's the basics of using functions. As you go through with Python, you're going to be using functions more and more, and generally it's a good idea to break your code into different functions. So whenever you have a grouping of code that's designed to perform a specific task, it's usually a good candidate to put that code inside of a function. But that's it for this one. If you enjoyed or found this video helpful in any way, shape or form, then consider leaving a like and subscribing. Turn on post notifications to be the first to know when I upload a new video. Also, if you have any constructive criticism or any questions or anything, comment them down below. And until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.